It's 2nd of September 25. It's Tuesday, and there was a poll for the Sunday Times by More in Common. So that was around about 31st of August, and it looks as if reform were getting among 16 and 17-year-olds 23%, which I think is probably a lot higher than Keir Starmer, etc., would expect. So, of course, Labour are going to bring in, they're going to let 16 and 17-year-olds vote at general elections. And it's interesting because this is what Keir Starmer thinks is being radical with the electoral system. It's not really radical at all, you know. Radical is making it like this fair, like the Swiss electoral system, where there's referendums all the time, and it's very direct democracy. So it's not really radical at all, you know, as a joke. I mean, really, he's the worst Prime Minister I've ever known, you know. He's got no respect for Trump and that, or Corbyn. He would do the same to Trump as he did to Corbyn. But personally, I hold him as in the same thing as Trump, because we're meant to think that he's really sensible in that. But personally, I just think he makes mistake after mistake, whether it's political mistakes or just PR mistakes, you know. So, I mean, he's the only Prime Minister I can think of that I've disliked. So anyway, I mean, there's been plenty of incompetent ones like him, but I hold him in the same thing as Trump, as you're meant to have a positive perception of him no matter what, when he's making mistake after mistake, you know. So anyway, so on to this again. It's to do with 16 and 17-year-olds. So Labour are bringing that in. They probably thought they would just basically sweep the board with 16 to 17-year-olds. But Reform are there with 23%, and I think the Tories are on 10%. So that's nearly a third. Well, that is a third going for the right, as you would call it. So I took a look at Grok for this because I couldn't find anything on Google Gemini. There it is, 23%. And what's Grok saying? Strong second place, nearly tying Labour. This marks a significant gain for Nigel Farage's party among youth, up from lower shares in pre-2024 polls, e.g. 8 to 12%. But then in the election last year they were 14%, so really that's almost the same as right across all ages. That's 18 to 24-year-olds that we're talking about. Maybe the 16 to 17-year-olds are even more radically in favour of reform, you know, because they're seeing the change at the coalface. I mean, the change in under asked Grok about the demographics of this age group, and it seems like around about 65% are you could call native British. So 65%, you know, so you've got a 35% other. Um, so that's showing you among this group, they're really at the front line of the change that's going on in Britain. So to me, it's not really a surprise. I mean, it is a surprise because they're 16, 17 years old. In the old days, they would tend to vote left, but at the same time, I'm not surprised because they're really at the front line of how the country's changing. So this is you telling them maybe, because say Reform could only get their vote in this group from one part of the community. I mean, we don't know that. I'm sure there's other parts who appreciate uh, what Britain had, but it must be maybe you can't even predict, but maybe not that many. It does seem that many. I mean, what we really need is a referendum on this, really, I think, in my opinion, because we've never had a referendum, and if we did have it at the start, I'm guessing it might have been 90% against or whatever. I'm not sure what it is now because of the way we're changing, but I'm guessing it might be 60%, 65% against. Um, so if you're taking this reform or just from one group, say, and that group's 65%, I think that works out around about 35%. So you could say 35% of that group are voting reform. So that is a lot. And I'm wondering if even more have came over in August because their parents and their older family have been out on the protests at hotels and stuff, because that's sort of made it acceptable to vote reform, I would say. Visually you can see it, and Operation Raise the Colours. So I wonder if that's anything to do with it. And just looking at this poll again, well, there's no surprise really. Well, there is a surprise that Labour are still leading. That is a surprise to me, actually. So they're up, they're leading, but they're down from say 30%. If Corbyn's Satana party wasn't there, the Your party, which I think is a good name, by the way. I know that Jeremy Corbyn came up for it as a holding name, and he said the other day he thought it was a good name. Actually, he liked it. I think they'll actually end up calling themselves Your Party. So there you go. Your Party is 21% among 16, 17-year-olds. It's no surprise, really. You would expect that. The young are really radical lefts mostly. Not always, because you get the young Tories and that in the old days. Most of them are probably switched to reform now. But I think amongst the working class, you're going to get a lot of 16, 17-year-olds voting reform now, I think. And that'll be a surprise to Keir Starmer, probably. Yeah, so let's see what it's saying about Your Party. Emerges as a major contender, drawing from Labour and Greens. Hypothetical. Without it, Labour support rises to 30%, so that's pretty big. But, it's big, but probably I would have expected that to mean bigger. Although I would expect radicals to vote Green, really. So that's a surprise to me. To me, the Greens seem like the real socialists. And even Lib Dems would put before Labour, really. So, but the new party's entry creates the three-way split, appeals on pro-Palestine stance, inequality and anti-austerity. So, Tories, well, they're on 13-14%, so that's pretty big. That would put the right, as I would call it, on 36-37%, so that's pretty high. Tories lag behind, with support around 13% when including Your Party. Slightly higher at 14% without it. Minimal appeal among this age group. But this is the big one. I'm shocked at. Greens 6% down from 14%. Biggest loser halved by the emergence of Your Party, which siphons left-leaning youth on environment and social justice issues. Well, I think the other thing about Your Party is, apart from Jeremy Corbyn at the moment, the MPs they might feel they have a connection, so, and maybe that from that group amongst this, because they're not going to vote Labour anymore because of a war in the Middle East, probably. They've maybe not got identity MPs to vote for yet. I think they will in the future. We've got 5 at the moment, really. And we've got the Aspire Party in London. So, yeah, if they've not got identity parties, I thought they would be going for Greens. I think the way it's going to happen is we're going to have either we're going to have two big, broad identity party groups, one to do with mattering lives and the other one to do with a religion, even if they don't, even if they argue with each other on Twitter, like the different groups of the religion, so we may have something like that, and then you're going to have others that don't have anyone. Are all these groups going to vote identity? That's what we're not allowed to really speculate about it. We're just to think that they're just going to vote left or right, as always. They're not going to go for identity things, although there is one in Blackburn, it seems to me, and a few other places. At the moment, they're all in they're sort of affiliated with Jeremy Corbyn, but they've not actually said they're in the party yet, as far as I know, but yeah, and here's others. So 10 to 15%. So this might be the demographics amongst this group showing us that they're going to go different ways. Includes independents and those unsure. So you've got the unsure there, I suppose, as well. Lib Dems 5 to 7%. So I'm quite surprised. Well, maybe yes and no. I'm surprised. Some people are saying that it might end up Reform and Lib Dems are the two main parties of quote the left and right. I don't even know if it's left and right now. Ben Habib says this a lot as well. Like, there's no left and right now. I agree with him to an extent, but I think it's to do with one issue. Basically, there's one issue. Nothing else really matters, in my opinion. So, but you've still got to vote for party hampers, unfortunately. As I've said many times, I think we should have the Swiss electoral system where you vote on issues, really. Yeah, so the Greens are really down. I'm really surprised at that. So this was for the Sunday Times on August the 31st, I think it was. So it's saying here that Nigel Farage has a 31% positive favourability rating among youth. I don't know if that means 16 to 7-year-olds. Higher than Corbyn's 26%, or Sultana's mixed reviews. Well, there you go. So maybe that's a better clue of what's going on amongst this group. Yeah, so the poll underscores risks for Labour's votes at 16 push. Without your party, Labour leads youth 30%, while Reform will have 23%. But the new entrant creates parity, potentially splitting the left and boosting Reform in marginal seats with high youth populations, e.g. urban areas like Birmingham or London. So, Reform's Ziaz Yousaf celebrated the 23% as evidence of youth awakening to anti-establishment views. Well, personally, I think it's one issue, really. Labour critics like Neil Kinnock called your party the Farage assistance faction for fragmenting the progressive vote. Corbyn Sultana allies see it as filling a void on Gaza and inequality. I mean, I'm all in favour of the more parties, the merrier in my thing, because I don't agree with the first past the post system. It's the most undemocratic one you can get. As a youth-specific poll, margins of error are higher, say 3 to 4%, so that's pretty big. And then I just asked about the demographics. Mainly one issue. So the age group for 16 to 7-year-olds total is around about 1.56 million. 1.5 million is projected at the moment. And in percent terms, that's about 2.2%. Stable, but expected to fall 5 to 10% by 2030 without increased migration. So I'm just looking at the main thing everyone really wants to know, really. The slight female skew reflects higher male mortality and emigration in younger ages. It's nearly 50% really, both ways. Yeah, here's the one that we really want to know. But this is from 2021, this data, so that's the main group are going to be down even more. I mean, I can't even estimate 5%. It could be quite big because you've had the Boris waves and then the people have brought in their families. So the Boris waves are the biggest changes ever, like 3 years in a row. It's still continuing really, 4th year in a row really. And so it's saying approximate number for 2025. So this is better. 2021's no use really. It's not giving me a percent there for 2025. Well, it's saying 65%. Yeah, no, down from 86% in 2011. I'm not sure if that's just 16, 17 euros. I think it is, actually. No, it's not. It's the whole country. Mm, well, I don't know actually. It wouldn't surprise me if it's the whole. The people don't realise how much the country's changed, especially in Scotland and Wales and things. But it could be like 65%. See, in this group, I don't think it's so much in the. Because this group is really the one that's changing the most, probably. Probably under 30s as well, around about. I would say between 18 to 40, maybe, is the biggest change. Maybe 16 to 17 is not far behind. Don't know. I'm just guessing. So it's saying Asian. Um, well, in 2021 it was 15 to 18%. I think this is amongst this group, but it's not really telling me actually, is it? I'll need to get approximate percents for 2025. I'll need to ask it. No, I've still not found out really. I mean, it's saying maybe between 15 and 19-year-olds it might be. Well, no, that was from 2021. Projections say 2030. The the new group, not including those from East Europe and that, maybe 30%. And if you include East Europe, I don't know, maybe 35%. So I don't know really. It's giving me something here, but approximate. But it's saying that at the moment, I think this is 16, 7-year-olds, but I'm guessing 65% of that group, and then East Europe and that, I suppose, and others from Europe, 5%. So that's 70%. I don't know. You've got you've got the Irish there. Um, so of other groups, um, I think this is Indian 5%, Pakistani 5%, Bangladeshi 3%, Chinese 1, other Asian 2, African 4, Caribbean 1, other 1, mixed 1.5. Yeah, mixed are going to make up a big thing now. I think Professor David Coleman says eventually mixed will be the biggest group. Mm. And then Arab as well. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just a pity this doesn't fit right as well. Makes it even harder. Um, so other ethnic group stable includes Arab 0.5% and any other 0.5%, up slightly, so that would be 1%. Mixed 5%, up from 4% in 21. So this is a 25 guess, but I don't know if it's just 16 to 7-year-olds. Yeah, I don't think it is. And then we've got this group. Um, African 4%, Caribbean 1%, other 1%. Asian 16%, includes Indian, Pakistani. Yeah, I think this is just in general, so we've already changed quite a bit all over. And I think amongst under 20s and that's going to be a lot bigger change, so that's just something to take in. Um, and that's including ones from Europe, East Europe, etc. The British are 65% basically at the moment. So I think a lot of people will be shocked when they know that, when they hear that. Projections and some 0.5% to 1% annual increase every year. Um, So there's 2.3 million in the 16 to 18-year-old group, they estimate. Yeah, we haven't really got. Yeah, that's what it was. Um, if you're referring to Reforms UK, 23% support among the 65% British segment of the cohort, or that type of British. This would mean approximately, yeah, I got the facts wrong though, so that doesn't matter. I got that number wrong. It's actually 35%, I think, of the group. If they all voted, it was only them that voted Reform. But we don't know that because there might be others. Probably not, but well, no. Others, it can't be in the majority of others, I don't think. And just other demographics, 92.2% of 16-17-year-olds are in education, training and apprenticeships. NEET rate is 7.8%, so that's not in education, training or apprenticeship. I always wonder what they're doing, because if they're not taking any state money, then, well, you could say it's not a problem, but I suppose that's a problem because we don't know about their futures. But at the moment, they're not costing the state any money apart from any free stuff to get like NHS, or if they're living with their parents and stuff, or their parents are paying for it. Um, yeah, I don't know. I keep reading different things here. It looks like it's maybe 1.56 million amongst this group. Sorry for it being so messy. Or does that just. Yeah, that seems to be the approximate number. UK total 1.56 million, so I don't know. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Just wanted to bring that attention to you. Here's another of these things, I don't know how. It never gave me percent, so that's why I kept looking. It said, I don't think this is right anyway, but this is 2021, and it'll be down from that. This type British, maybe 75%, maybe 70% in 21. That'll be down. All the other groups will probably be up. That's 15 to 18%, 21, 8 to 10% on 21 before the Boris waves. Mixed, 8 to 10%. Other, 2 to 3%. That can include Arab, etc. And the total, there we go. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that reform thing. You can look at it yourself. The poll signals a more polarised and unpredictable youth electorate, with Reform UK emerging as a surprising beneficiary despite its opposition to the reform. Oh yeah, they don't want 16, 17-year-olds to vote. For real-time updates, yeah, etc, etc. Margin there is high, 3 to 4%. Yeah, that's it really. Boys are nearly twice as likely as girls to back right-wing parties. 45% for Reform Tories versus 24% for girls. So that's quite a big chunk. And if you think most of them might be voting, if they're voting Reform, Reform specifically gets 25% from boys and 19% from girls. Well, I thought it'd be a lot higher. Tories fare worse, 20% for boys and 5% girls. How does that? Yeah. Um, Reform achieved 23% support, positioning it as a close challenger to Labour and outperforming expectations for a right-wing party among youth. This is a notable shift from earlier 2025 polls, where YouGov in July had Reform at 8% among 18 to 24-year-olds. I mean, I wonder if it's all the raise of colours and all the hotel protests, that made it's okay to vote Reform. And then you've got Advance UK about to come, who are more sensible on the issue. So the Overton window's getting moved, which I'm happy about. And here's the full results from that anyway. So including your party, Labour were 24%, Reform 23%, your party 21%, Tories 13 to 14%, Greens 6%, Lib Dems 5 to 7, others 10 to 15%, or undecided. That's amongst 16 and 17-year-olds in the UK at the moment, August 25, although it's now September. Yeah, so that's that then, okay. Okay, goodbye.